So in 3, 2.
Good afternoon. I now call to order the meeting of the Equity Committee for Thursday, March 19th, 2022. In accordance with Board Policy 8311, the chair of a committee at their discretion and after consultation with the staff liaison may convene an in-person committee meeting. Otherwise, all committee meetings will be held electronically. Today's meeting is being held virtually and broadcast through Microsoft Teams. In order to efficiently conduct this meeting, all voting items this afternoon will be done by a roll call vote. Board members will say their names before making and seconding a motion as applicable, as well as when requesting discussion on an agenda item. Ms. Fass, please call the roll of board members to determine the presence of a quorum of the committee.
Ms. Scott.
Present.
Dr. Hager. Ms. Jose.
Present.
Ms. Rowe. Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Fass, please call the roll of staff members on the committee participating in today's meeting.
Dr. Yarborough and Mr. Handy.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fass, please call and note the names of any additional staff members who might be joining us and participating in today's meeting.
Ms. Wolf.
Present.
Thank you.
Great. And I just wanted to see, are there any other board members participating on the call that I've not named or? Okay. And are there any additional staff? No? Okay, we're all accounted for. Thank you. Okay, and then, so it looks like the first item on our agenda is Pathways to Technology, Early College High School, P-Tech at Dundalk. And for that, I call on Mr. Douglas Handy and Ms. Wolf.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. So I'm going to do a brief intro and then really bring on our presenter for this evening, Ms. Amy Wolf, who is the coordinator of P-Tech at Dundalk High School. I do want to give a little background, a little history. This is a program that, after nearly 20 years in education, really almost stopped me in my tracks when I found out what it was about and what it could mean for students. So just a brief history before I turn it over to Ms. Wolf. P-Tech is actually a national program, might even be international at this point. I know we've hosted staff from outside of the country, outside the U.S., but it was started in New York City by IBM. And IBM noticed that they had what some call middle skill positions, really positions requiring a 2-year degree from a community college. And these positions weren't being filled. At the same time, they knew in the New York City school system, there were students who were frankly being underserved as far as being provided with the opportunities and preparation for those opportunities. So IBM got together with the school system in New York City and started working with a local community college to provide what they call Pathways to Technology, the early college high school. And the idea is pretty straightforward. First, you need the right entities at the table. So you need a school system, a community college, and you needed at least one business partner. So the idea, like IBM, is that there are companies who really need the trained workers to continue along in their mission as a company. So IBM joined in with New York City schools. They worked with a local community college and it found a way to allow students to earn their high school diploma and their 2-year associate's degree completely free of charge. And they would give those students anywhere between the 4 years that it would normally take to get a high school diploma up to 6 years. So you have 4 to 6 years to earn that high school diploma and that AA degree. And it was completely free of charge to students. And to me, which is really almost as important, is that who was being afforded this opportunity. It was open to any student who was interested. There was no entrance criteria, no grades, no academics, no attendance criteria, no behavior criteria. And not to steal Ms. Wolf's thunder, but one thing I really appreciate about her presentation when she's doing the open house, she says, this is your fresh start. You've been in middle school. It's about time for you to move into high school. This is an opportunity for you, and this is a fresh start for you. We don't care what you've done up to this point. Right now, we're ready to support you along the way to where, you know, you could possibly go through this program. So we are in the 4th year of this program. And so it was about 5 years ago where Ms. Wolf and I connected when we got a grant from the Maryland State Department of Education. At that time, I think we were the 3rd P-TECH school in Maryland. And Ms. Wolf and I had the luxury of working together for about a year in central office, a little less than a year. So during that planning year, we had to bring on a coordinator who would really be the person on site that would take care of everything. And Ms. Wolf was actually in the central office with me, like I said, for nearly a year. And it gave her a chance to build relationships with, you know, support staff in my office. So we had a grant to manage and, you know, just learning the processes and procedures around how, you know, things are done from a central office standpoint, you know, working with, you know, copy and print and facilities to get flyers out to parents, just a whole range of activities, and gave us a chance to really get to know each other and our work styles and how we could collaborate to make this program successful. From there, we got into our summer program, and then Ms. Wolf has been off and running, building an outstanding program ever since then. So I'm very excited to know that we do have some graduates with their high school diplomas coming up. I am very much looking forward to joining Ms. Wolf and celebrating the students when they earn their community college AA degrees or their AAS degrees in the near future. And again, this is a program to me that gives me a lot of pride because this is, to me, equity in action. We are indeed removing barriers that would prevent students from accessing opportunities that could really change their lives. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to pause because Ms. Wolf and I were saying I could probably run with this presentation myself, but she's the one who's leading these efforts right there at Dundalk High School. So with no further delay, I want to turn it over to one of my favorite colleagues, Ms. Amy Wolf.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, next slide, please. So just to give you a little bit about my background, this is actually my 26th year in education. I started in Baltimore City, spent 21 years in Harford County, and have been the last almost 5 in Baltimore County. This program was a really big shift for me. I was running an international baccalaureate program in Harford County for 12 plus years before I left that to come to P-TECH. I appreciate the fact that we do an open lottery for our students, and we really do get the range. We have students that are coming in with IEPs and 504s. We are an ESOL center at Dundalk, so we get a lot of ESOL students up through honors level and GT students. So I think our biggest challenge is how do we manage that group of 60 kids and meet all of their needs at the same time. So as you can see from our slide, at Dundalk, we take 60 students a year. We have 2 different pathways in engineering technology. We have civil engineering and electromechanical. And the students take the first couple of courses they take, everyone takes the same. And then after they take the first 4 courses, then they have the option to pick their pathway. And that's done, you know, with conversation, a little bit of research that we do in 9th grade, and have those conversations about which pathway best fits their needs. As Doug said, we took our first cohort in the fall of 2018. And that first group is graduating, which I cannot believe it has been 4 years. We've made it through most of a pandemic, and they've come out on the other end. We don't have any students that will finish both their CCBC and their Dundalk requirements this year. Most of them will finish next year, and then we have a few that will take that 6th year. Owings Mills also has a program. They take 30 students a year. Theirs is in advanced manufacturing, and they took their first cohort 2 years ago. So they're 2 years behind us. And Tom Blumenauer, who is the coordinator over there, he and I work very closely together to really make these 2 programs work for our kids. So really the only limiting factor for a student to come to this program is that they have to be zoned for Dundalk High School. We are in our own little enclave, so we reach out to the students at Dundalk Middle, Hollibird Middle, and the few students from General John Stricker who are zoned for Dundalk High School. We reach out to them in the fall through their counselors, through mailings, through emails, and Google Voice texts to the parents. Students are eligible to apply in grade 8, and then we do take students in grade 9 if there's spaces available. And again, we are 100% lottery. The only thing we ask of students is their name, address, and parent contact information. That's it. Next slide. So as Doug mentioned, we are a combination of high school, community college, mentoring, and internship all in one. So we work with our business partners. They supply the mentors. We'll talk a little bit more about that. They also supply the internships. So we actually have 10 students who will be going out on their internships for 8 weeks this summer. The grant requires a 6-week paid internship. Our business partners have gone above and beyond. They do have up to 6 years to complete the program. That's what we are allowed to pay for. I have students who are projected to not finish until year 7, and that's perfectly fine. We just stop paying at year 6, and then the families know that they have to pick up whatever else the students need to finish at that point. Typically, we are looking at internships the summer after their senior year. Our business partners require that the students be 18. So again, they can earn a high school diploma and an AAS degree from CCBC Dundalk in engineering technology. They are guaranteed that internship. And what's really, I think, going to be the biggest bonus for these kids is that they're first in line for job opportunities. So when they finish the program, the companies are looking to hire them. We've told the students that their internships this summer is basically an 8-week job interview. And the companies were really excited to interview the students, and they're looking forward to getting some new employees. Next slide. So these are our partners. Obviously, Team BCPS and CCBC are working collaboratively. We also work with KCI Technologies out of Spark, Maryland, Stanley Black & Decker out of Towson, Johnson Controls, and Whiting Turner. Next slide. So Johnson Control and Stanley Black & Decker are our electromechanical partners, and KCI and Whiting Turner are our civil engineering partners. We do take 60 students a year. They get a dedicated program coordinator, me, and I'm just so thankful we were finally able to hire our resource teacher. He just accepted the position the other day, so we will have a second person at Dundalk to work with the students. He will also be teaching the Project Lead the Way engineering class that the students take in 9th grade, and I co-teach with another person to teach the Effective Learning Habits class, which we've effectively termed our PTEC class, where we really focus on bridging the gaps that the students have and bringing them up to speed. And that helps us determine which students are ready to take CCBC classes in grades 10. We're preparing them to be globally competitive. College and career ready is so important because we are asking these students to start taking classes at CCBC in 10th grade at 15, sometimes 16 years old. It's a big ask and it's a big jump for the kids. We really have to help them to understand how college life and CCBC expectations are going to be very different from BCPS expectations. The credits earned can be transferred because this is not an engineering degree, it's an engineering technology degree. It's not a direct transfer, but individual credits will transfer. So students have the option of going directly to work with one of our partners or somebody else, or they can go on to university when they're done if they want. I actually have a student, 2 of them, that are looking towards apprenticeships. They have found what it was that they enjoy doing, and they're looking for apprenticeship opportunities as their next step. Each student gets an industry mentor and the paid internship, and it's free. The families really appreciate that, and it's been a wild success. Next slide. So here's where we are today. Our first cohort will graduate From the original cohort of 60 students, we have 21 that will be continuing on to year 5. 10 of those students are scheduled to intern this summer. If you look at our current enrollment, grade 9, so this year we have 36 left. We only started with 50 with COVID last year. It was really hard to reach out to the students, and we really did struggle to get those responses back from families. Grade 10 has 36 students, grade 11, 24, and then 21 in grade 12. And we already have 60 students that have accepted for our incoming class. So we know that attrition is a little bit of a problem, but there's a reason for it. So I pulled some data just to give you guys an idea of why we're down to 21 in that senior class. So 6 have moved on. We live, you know, our school's in a very transient area. We have a lot of families that move. If students stay within Baltimore County, they have the option of a boundary exception and can stay in the program. Most of them have moved too far away because we can't provide the transportation piece. So it became too difficult for them to stay in the program, and then others moved out of state completely. We have 5 that are either graduating early, going directly to college rather than finishing at CCBC, or doing apprenticeships. We have 8 that just changed their minds, that after a couple of years realized this just wasn't the program for them. We're asking students to make this decision in grade 8. Sometimes by grade 11, they decide it's not what they're interested in. And then we have 7 that were just not successful. And what does that look like? These are kids that may or may not be graduating from high school this year, you know, with their cohort like they're supposed to. They've run into some other issues along the way, never really got started. So they elected to leave the program. And sometimes those were conversations we had to have together that maybe this just wasn't the right fit. So next slide. So we have 117 students in the program as of today. We are 69% male and 31% female. So if you take a look at our demographics, our program versus Dundalk High School, we're pretty good in really matching what it is that our community reflects. What's interesting is when I look at our white population, about 19% of that is our Middle Eastern students. And again, we have such a large ESOL population at Dundalk High School. It's really nice to be able to give those students the same opportunities. And some of them have excelled, you know, in going to college and starting. We're a little higher on the Asian, but that's it. We're pretty balanced with what it is that we see in our community. And about 12% of our students are classified as ESOL, and 15% of them have an IEP or a 504 plan. And this we work with seamlessly at the high school, and we work with CCBC to provide accommodations for any student that has a 504 or an IEP. Next slide. So we do have challenges just like any program. I am one of those people that believes in being completely transparent about what our challenges are. Student success at both CCBC and Dundalk High School. We recognize that not every student has had or has the same support at home to be successful, that have had the same experiences growing up. A lot of our ESOL students have major learning gaps coming from other countries. They may have been out of school for a couple of years. So we recognize that, and we continue to evolve and change to find new ways to meet their needs. We know that attrition is a problem, and again, we keep looking for different ways that we can help better support students, and I'll talk about these things in the next slide. Virtual learning was a challenge. I'm sure all of you are aware of what students went through with that, both on an emotional level and an academic level. Our population is challenging. Our kids come in with a lot of needs. a lot of social emotional needs. There are a lot of family issues, more things than I could actually explain in just a short presentation. The better we get to know our students and the closer I become with them and the more I get to know them, the better off I am in being able to help them. Staffing, it's a countywide issue, it's a global issue, it's definitely a Dundalk issue. We are a challenging building to work in. We know that. We have 2,200 students. We are already short-staffed, and we see the flight happening for next year. So we know it's something we're going to have to work with. Our students have mentors. We have mentor meetings a couple times a year. We weren't able to do that in the last year and a half. We tried doing it virtually. Students didn't want to turn on their cameras. It was hard to get them to engage with the mentors because they weren't meeting face to face. When we have our face-to-face mentor meetings, we're playing. We're doing get to know you activities, and they have building challenges. They have things in front of them where the adults and the students are building, they're playing. Sometimes we do games. There's always donuts. Donuts brings everybody together. So those things really helped. Not having that ability to connect it really became a huge detriment. This year, we weren't able to bring the mentors into our building at the beginning of the year, plus our mentors weren't allowed to come into the building. Their companies didn't want them coming into a building with 2,200 kids. So huge challenges there with our mentors. We're excited to get back on track with that in the fall, even a little bit this spring, the beginning of June. And then we do still struggle with the communication. CCBC changed from Blackboard to Brightspace. The access that I initially had in Blackboard, where I could see student grades for the cohorted classes, could communicate with parents, it took several months for me to get that same access in Brightspace. So I have access now for most of our classes. If they are cohorted and Dundalk High School students only, then I'm given access. If it's a combined class where there's other students, general population students from CCBC, then I don't. But I'm building a rapport with the different professors over there, and we're finding our ways with communication that way. Getting them to recognize that while these are accelerated students, they are still high school students. But we are making great inroads with that. Next slide. So here's some of the things that we do. We have a summer institute or a summer camp. It is the week after school gets out, so it is June 20th through 24th this year. On Monday, we start at Dundalk High School, and this is the day where the kids get to know each other, they get to know us. We have some teachers there and some other staff members. We'll do some design challenges, they'll get to see the building, and then we prep them for what's to come the rest of the week, because the rest of the week is field trips. We take them out to see the business partners. On Wednesday, we'll meet up with the outdoor education guys at Dundee Creek, take them canoeing, and do some more team building there. During the summer, we offer a course at CCBC called ACDD 101. It's a 1-credit course that's an introduction to college. So the students take that course before they start their first semester at CCBC. It's a great introduction to how do you access Brightspace? Where are the resources you need? The tutoring centers? Where are things around campus? How do you find just general information? Plagiarism, how to write a paper, how to cite a paper, just all of the good basics that they need, keeping in mind that the majority of kids that are taking this class haven't started 10th grade yet. So a lot of it is new information for them. It is not a required class, but we do strongly encourage it. We do offer summer school for our students who maybe had a little hiccup in 9th grade and need to repeat a class. Same thing with our 10th graders and our 11th graders. It's not just our 9th graders. We can do extended day. We offer tutoring. Before COVID, we did prep work after school for algebra for the HSA or the MCAP. We did the same thing for government. So we did that in the fall so the students could retest in January and get those test scores completed. Because our goal is to get those things out of the way and make sure that they're on track for graduation as early as possible, because then we can get them over to CCBC. Parent communication is key. Now that we're using Google Voice Text, I find I have a much better success rate reaching out to parents. They don't always check emails, they're working, they're not available by phone, but a text message is easy, and we're finding that they respond right away. So that really has improved our communication. SEL has been a big push in Baltimore County, but to that I add good old-fashioned tough love. My students know that I am there for them, I will support them, I will back them, but I will also call them on the things that they're doing wrong, whether it's their behavior, their attendance, their grades. They know that I care about them and I want the best for them, but I'm going to push them to be the best version of themselves, and I don't let them get away with nonsense. They learn that pretty quickly. We do a lot of hands-on instruction and active learning. So both our 9th grade P-TECH class and our Project Lead the Way engineering class are hands-on active learning classes. It does help to focus the students. We've done even more so this year coming back from a pandemic, just to bring them back to center. We've seen huge leaps this year from where they were in September to where they are now. They are much more settled, they are much more focused, and they're academically far more successful than they were even 3 or 4 months ago. And there's accountability, you know, and again, that comes down to the attendance, the behavior. They're really not allowed to get away with it. They also know that I'm not going to send you to CCBC if you have attendance issues, if you have discipline issues. So it is the tough love, it is the accountability, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, they need someone and they want someone to push them harder. That structure works really well for them, and we've seen it. We've seen it firsthand. Next slide. So these are just some pictures of what our Summer Institute looks like. The students in the upper right corner, those are actually my first group. They are the ones that are graduating this year. They hate when I use this picture because they do look like little kids. They're all grown up now, but we do a lot of those hands-on design challenges. The picture on the left side, the students, there's a line of about 30 of them, and they're given a marble and a set of rulers. And they have to get the marble to get from the beginning of the line to the end of the line without dropping it. And it's a lot harder than they realize, but they have to work as a team to get it to work. So we start with just 4 people, and then the line keeps growing, and they always manage to get it done. It just shows them that you have to work together, you have to communicate, and you can't give up. Next slide. And visits to our business partners. These were all things that students did during their Summer Institute 2 years ago. Back then, Carter Cat was one of our partners. They have since been replaced by Johnson Controls. But the students were actively, you know, taking apart and putting together back a diesel engine. They're learning how to use surveying equipment. We like our Summer Institutes to be hands-on. This gives the students a chance to get to know their business partners, what they're about, what kinds of jobs they offer, but to also get their hands on some fun stuff. Whiting Turner did some virtual reality where the students got to wear the VR goggles, and they could actually walk around the new science building at Towson University that way. So they really enjoyed that. Next slide. And then to give you an idea of our mentor meetings, we normally have well over 100 people because it's all of the freshmen and all of the mentors at the same time, along with the CCBC people come over. We always welcome central office staff to come over if they'd like. This is taken in, these pictures are from the Dundalk cafeteria. We've also met in our library. And I think sometimes the adults have as much fun working on these projects as the kids do. Next slide. And then these are the activities and design challenges that we do in class. The cardboard you see there, the students were designing backpacks. They learn the concept of prototyping and client meetings and really listening to each other and what the other person wanted. You'll see the chair with the frogs and the, we're not sure what that is. I think it's an emu. But the idea is that they're given limited resources. How do you build something out of paper? So they learn that circles structurally can sometimes be more sound than square structures, depending on what they're building. And they've built items out of paper and cardboard and index cards. And I'm amazed each year at what they can do. I think their favorite challenge, though, is always our roller coaster challenge. And that's all out of cardstock and straws. Next slide. So this is what we're coming up to this year. And even though our freshmen have not yet had a chance to meet their mentors, we are going to do what we call a field day on June 2nd over at CCBC Dundalk. So our partners will be there. They'll have activities for the students to do, and the mentors will have that first chance to interact with the students. We're really looking forward to it. The kids are looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's a nice day, but you can see that we have a very large group of people that come together. The students got to fly drones. We play minute to win it games. So it's just a really nice half day. It's out of the building and it gives them a chance to meet, which will be great because then when they transition into mentor meetings in 10th grade, they will have already had some exposure. Next slide. So our application process, as Doug alluded to, is really simple. You have to be zoned for Dundalk High School. That's it. It is random lottery. We have moved to a completely online application process. We do notify in March. We try to align with the magnet office because we know students are applying to multiple programs. We have a waiting list. And I have to thank our middle school counselors. They are wonderful to work with, and they really make the process even easier because I can send them an email and ask them to follow up with a couple of kids that I haven't been able to get in touch with. But I can send students, the middle school students, Schoology messages. They can communicate with me if they have questions. I do go into the schools and make presentations, and the counselors also help me with that. Next slide. So here's my contact information. If anybody has questions that come up after the fact, please feel free to call me, text me, email me. I really can't say enough about this program. I could talk for hours, but I'm sure you have some questions. So I want to give you a chance to ask them.
Great. Thank you so very much for that, Ms. Wolf. Mr. Handy, is there another, or is this the complete presentation?
Ms. Scott, no, this is the complete presentation. So this is the one.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I didn't want to cut in too soon. So yeah, that's wonderful. So it was basically a great presentation on PTED. Board members, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat. But it looks like Ms. Joseph's calling in. So Ms. Joseph, if you have a question, just let me know. But I can. Yes.
I'm actually on the computer, so thank you.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Okay, perfect then. Never mind. Looks like we'll start first with Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. So my only question is about the process for allowing students to come in. There are 60 students in the cohort this upcoming year. You mentioned there's a lottery system. So are students applying and then there's a lottery system from that, or are students randomly selected based on the lottery? How does that process work?
So we take applications typically until either the end of December or end of January, depending on how our numbers look. And then once we have all of those applications in, I put them into a random number sort. 1 through 60 are sent. Congratulations, you have a seat. Everybody else, again, random numbered for our wait list. As students say, no, thank you, I'm going to Solars, I'm going somewhere else, then we start pulling kids right off the waiting list.
Okay, awesome. So the eighth grade students. And how do you advertise this to the students?
So we send mailers home in October, September, October. We do open house, and I go out to the schools, and the counselors post stuff on the middle school Schoology pages.
Wow. Well, this was an incredible presentation, and I love that not only are we helping our students for their 4 years in high school to be able to be involved and pursue this the AA degree, but also for 2 years after high school. I think that's so incredible, and I think we're really we're sticking with our students and we're sticking with the cohorts to make them successful. So thank you for all the work you're doing. And I'm wondering, maybe what are some of the steps that you're taking currently about the attrition for some of the decreases in terms of students that, I know you mentioned you made a distinction between which students and why they aren't continuing, but what are you doing anything else to kind of continue those students along the path, or?
Yeah, we're constantly looking for new ways to help re-engage the students. And I think my hardest group right now to re-engage with are my 10th graders. The students that have gone to CCBC, have been successful at CCBC, they're on their way. They check in with me, but they're good to go. It's my group that didn't start that really seems to be struggling. And I've got some meetings that'll be scheduled with them in the next 2 weeks to sit down, have small group meetings, look at scheduling options for next year, looking at their grades. What's nice is I do have a group of that cohort that while they didn't start at CCBC this year, they are definitely ready to start next year. And for some, I have one student, he's spent a lot of time out of the building this year for not making good choices. And for him, it's that conversation of, is this the right place for you? And sometimes it's not. And we want to make sure that the kids who stay in the program really want to be in the program. A lot of times in 8th grade, their parents say, you're going to be in this program. If they're not invested in it, they're not successful in it. Right. We also are looking at some different summer programming where we can bring them in and help them recoup some things this summer as well.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Next, we have Ms. Jose.
Thank you. And thank you for this presentation. I think it's a great program. Do you have, at this point, any plans to expand this program to other schools?
We don't have that option. This is a state-funded grant, and the county would have to apply for additional grants. So we have the two, one for Owings Mills and one for Dundalk, and I believe there are 9 programs statewide, and that's it.
And do you have any plans to add more partners to the program to expand internship opportunities, or is that set?
Right now, we've just replaced Carter Cat with Johnson Controls. Our 4 partners supply all of the internships that we need. They know that between the 4 of them, they need to come up with the 60 that we could potentially need each year. We are not against adding more business partners, but we're not actively seeking them right now.
Okay, and so all of those kids are getting active internships so far?
They are guaranteed. It is part of the grant. It is part of the program that they are guaranteed that internship. Our business partners have actually stepped up, and instead of doing the required 6-week, they're giving the students 8-week internships. And
Great.
These are paid at about $17 an hour.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jose. Next is Dr. Hager.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. You mentioned Project Lead the Way as a course that they take freshman year, I believe. Is the Project Lead the Way formal program available at Dundalk High School? And if so, are these are they kind of Venn diagram type programs? Are they completely separate, or are there other ways that they kind of work together?
So yes, we do have Project Lead the Way as a complete program at Dundalk High School. When Doug and I initially started mapping out the program, we looked at having the students complete all of PLTW and all of the courses at CCBC, and what we found is it was too much. We would not be able to get any student through the program in less than 5 years, most likely 6 years. So they only do the first course because they need some of that information, especially the computer-aided design and drafting, and some of the basic electrical information before they take their first classes at CCBC. So right now they only do the one course. They do have the option of taking other courses if they'd like, but we sort of discourage that because it will throw off numbers for the county and how they look at that as a program.
And so do you feel that the two programs in a single school complement each other, or do you think you're competing for the same students or anything like that?
I don't think we're competing. I think we work really well together. Next year with Tony Carter coming to us, actually coming back to us to teach the Project Lead the Way classes and to be the P-TECH resource teacher. He is a former Dundalk High School PLTW teacher, so it works really well. He knows the curriculum, but we work well with the tech ed department to support each other throughout. So I don't see us as competing.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe this is Ms. Scott. Just to follow up, I believe Ms. Jones was asking as far as expanding the P-TECH program to additional schools, and you said that it would require additional funding for the county to request additional funding. Requested from, is that federal funding, or who would the request go to?
So this is a state funded program. The grants come out of MSDE. I don't even know if the grant is even open. They reopened the grant 3 years ago, which is how Owings Mills came in. Harford County added a program. I think those were the only two. I think the state only opened up 2 more programs. So it's not an open-ended grant. The state is very limited in how they do that. To my knowledge, there are no new grants out there right now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Handy, sounds like you had a response.
Yes, Ms. Scott. Right. So when I was my former role, I was the grant manager. Just like Ms. Wolf pointed out, when Owings Mills came on board, that was the same time Harford County came on board. I think they did 2 additional grants. So the money does come through MSDE. It actually comes from the General Assembly. Governor Hogan really was very supportive of this program. He actually brought it to Maryland. So Baltimore City Schools had the first 2 programs, and then, like Ms. Wolf said, we're up to 9. One thing that Governor Hogan mentioned, and I think the General Assembly members, they wanted to see the results of P-TECH. So we know it's a very promising model. I think city schools now does have a few graduates, but they really wanted to see, the results of the program before they put more funding towards expanding to more sites. So I think we're starting to see with this year, maybe next year, what the results look like for students that should be ready to graduate, around the 5-year mark. And from there, it could expand depending on, I guess how successful and how they fund it from the state. There was some discussion, could we fund it just in-house? So there is that discussion. I know when I was involved, the grant paid $750 per student enrolled as far as covering BCPS. And then there's some other funding they give to CCBC to defray those college costs for the students. Well, college costs for the cost for the college, but like I said, for the students, everything is absolutely free. But there is still budgeting needing to be done at the community college level, of course, within BCPS to fully support the students.
Okay, thank you for that. And when the results come out, I guess from like BCPS especially, is that something that would be shared with the board, or I guess shared with in a form of a report, or how would we see that? Because I'm sure we'd be curious as well what those results are.
So I know I would like to send the results through. I'm thinking about our channels, internally, our leadership channels, maybe through academic team on to superintendent's cabinet. And from there, I would certainly like to publicize that information when it comes out, because I think, we did talk about the attrition. There certainly have been, challenges to work through. And I'm thinking how, COVID even impact the attrition rate. But nevertheless, yes, I would like to certainly share that information widely with folks once it's ready. So
Great.
I'll have to get okay from leadership to share it out. But
yes, of course.
Yeah, but I can certainly share it with this committee. in my liaison role. So I will certainly commit to doing that.
Thank you. And then I guess this would be either for you or Ms. Wolf. As far as the subject areas, like it's engineering, technology, and then advanced manufacturing. What was the reasoning behind? Were those areas given to us, or was that a need for those professions, and that's why they were chosen in each of those respective high schools? How did that come about?
I'll start on that. Is that okay? And then if Ms. Wolf wants to add to it. So I would tell you for the Dundalk site, Whiting, Turner, and KCI were interested before I think we even had a site. So one thing people ask is like, why are we working with two companies that are not, you know, vicinity-wise, they're not located near Dundalk High School. So with those two companies on board, we certainly wanted to keep them there. If you look at what their interests were at that time and still are, I guess it's around the civil engineering piece about who, civil engineering technology, about what they would need as far as employee skill set. And then when we brought on additional partners, that's how we got to the electrical mechanical pathways. When we talked about those two pathways, that's how we arrived there. We also used, you know, Whiting, Turner, and KCI helped us recruit Stanley Black & Decker. And then also, you know, we did have Carter CAD at one point, and then we have Johnson Controls. Also want to give some recognition, commendation to the Chamber of Commerce, the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. They've really been active at trying to recruit companies for P-Tech across the state. And that's actually how Stanley Black & Decker got involved, really through the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. So that's how we got involved with those particular partners. As far as the Owings Mills program, we wanted to, we selected the Owings Mills as a site. We did that internally. And then we were looking at Catonsville campus. So one issue we have on the west side that we don't have on the east side is the distance between the high school campus and the college campus. Looking at the CCBC campus, and I'll talk about this in a minute too, about what changes CCBC made, but the CCBC campus has that advanced manufacturing at that Catonsville campus. So we knew we wanted to stay on the west side. And then we started looking for business partners that would be in alignment with advanced manufacturing. And that's how we came up with the business partners. And I need a really refresher. I know there's been some changes in some of our partners over there. I know some of the partners we picked up through the Baltimore County Workforce Development Board. I've been going to those meetings for a while. I'm an official member of the board now, but we were very adamant about trying to recruit through, you know, that Workforce Development Board. CCBC actually relocated their engineering technology program from the Catonsville campus to the Dundalk campus because of P-Tech. So that was part of the conversation too. Well, they've made that huge commitment. We feel like we would make the commitment on the BCPS side as far as supporting transportation to get students from Owings Mills to the Catonsville campus. And we also have like the Owings Mills campus or that Owings Mills site where students could take courses that are not directly involved with the advanced manufacturing equipment. So that's been some of the planning that's happened on the Owings Mills side. But I know Owings Mills has been active in trying to pick up additional partners in that vicinity of their campus.
Okay, great, thanks. And because I guess I was just also wondering if you or Ms. Wolf could tell me what kind of jobs those kinds of I guess sort of majors would go into. I guess I'm trying to think about like with the future jobs of the future, advanced manufacturing and even engineering technology. How transferable is that? And I guess the placement of our students in actual concrete jobs after coming through these programs.
I can't speak to the advanced manufacturing. I don't know as much about what they're doing at Owings Mills, but I can tell you for the Dundalk campus, Whiting Turner is specifically looking for students to become project managers. That is the students who are there with their internships this summer. They will be on a team learning the skills of becoming a project manager. And the way Whiting Turner works their internships is they have their team, but to that team they add four-year college interns, and then they're adding the P-Tech interns as well. So they're creating a very global team, but ultimately the goal is training those students to come out and be project managers because they will have this the well-rounded skills that they need to do that job, rather than going into something specific within the realm of civil engineering. They're looking, Whiting Turner is looking at them more globally. KCI, on the other hand, who does such a wide range of different jobs, they're looking for students to come to them with some experiences. They'll train them. They'll give them what they need for those next steps, and then the students can have a little bit more flexibility in picking and choosing what they're interested in doing. For Stanley Black & Decker, the students again will be working in teams, and they'll learn. So Black & Decker has two areas. They have their tools area, and then they have their securities division. I don't know if they're breaking the kids up and allowing them to choose, or if they're putting everybody into tools. They're one of the companies that's just coming back to being in person. They've stayed remote quite a bit. So the way they're running their internships is going to be a little different, but they're looking for students again to have some basic skills, and then they'll take them and train them for those next steps. So based on the jobs that are available at the time, they're all willing to train the students. And Johnson Controls is new with us. They just signed on, so I don't have a lot of background with them yet. And I can say North American Millwright was a company that was with Owings Mills. They're actually looking to transfer to the Dundalk program. They're closer to our area, but they're also looking at our electromechanical students.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So that was kind of a nice collaboration between the two programs we share.
Thank you for letting me know. All right. It looks like we have a question from Ms. Rowe.
Thank you. Has there been any thought with the engineering students? One of the things you hear a lot from the machinist world is, and there are a lot of machinists in the Dundalk area and a lot of machine shops, is that you'll have engineers design something and then it gets sent to the machine shop and the machinist has to redesign it because the engineer doesn't understand the capabilities of the machine work. And so, like, for instance, the Schmidt's Bread Factory, a machine shop in Rosedale builds that entire layout. And so if you have manufacturing and you have engineering, it seems to me that some internships in some of the machine shops in the Dundalk Rosedale area might be a good thing for some of our students who are looking at manufacturing and engineering, because that is something that people often don't think about, and it may also be something that might make them decide, hey, you know what, maybe I want to be a machinist. And machinist is a line of work that is never going to cease to exist because the robotics industry requires machinists as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there because both my brothers are machinists. One of them is in Rosedale, and that's a thing that you just hear a lot.
If you could share the name of the company or some companies that you're familiar with, that would be great, and then I can reach out to them directly.
Sure, I'll send you an email.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Were there any other questions or comments, board members? Okay, and Mr. Handy, did you have anything else to add?
No, Ms. Scott, nothing else to add to this presentation. Did have just the next item we had on some meeting dates, but nothing to add to this presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ms. Wolf.
Thank you all for having me. Again, if you have any questions or anything comes up, my contact information is there, and I'm happy to speak with you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ms. Wolf. Bye.
Okay, next it looks like we have Board Equity Committee meeting dates, and that is led by Mr. Douglas Handy.
All right, thank you, Ms. Scott. So here I want to thank Ms. Gover for supplying us some starter dates, if you will. These are suggested dates for our meetings for the 2022-2023 school year. You all can see those there on the screen. I know we won't have Mr. Thomas with us. You could always, I guess, tune in, if you will. So We certainly will miss him in his absence. But most of those dates, I guess we've been doing like the third Thursday, so a couple of exceptions in there. But any concerns on those dates, or can we reach consensus to move forward with Equity Committee, and then we could talk about the Equity Council next. But I wanted to make sure we're good with the Equity Committee dates there in that top section first.
Personally, I have no concerns.
So there's a PRC committee's trying to schedule something in August, and I think that we're looking at either 16th, 17th, or 18th. So I'm the chair of that committee, so, and Christian's also on that committee, so maybe touch base with Miss Howie before settling on that date. But other than a PRC conflict, those dates are fine.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rupp.
Yeah, I don't have anything conflicting with those dates.
Okay. Okay. All right, so it sounds like we're okay. We've got the potential PRC conflict, which I'll check on. Okay, and everything else looks good. All right, why don't we look at the Equity Committee meeting with the Equity Council? So notice we have our months. So we did, I think, 4 months this year. So it's like the addition would be a September meeting, and we're still looking at the actual day for each month. I did start meeting with the Planning Committee for the Council. Excited about where we may go next year with the Council, really just trying to get them a little more autonomous, if you will, a little more independent, self-directed, and me serving more in the support role. So good meeting yesterday to get us started. We had about 10 of those members who were looking to join in. Also, Mr. Thomas, you, I think in particular, will be happy to hear we're really going to bolster our student participation because I, didn't have our students. We had some students signed up, but we didn't quite get them connected. So I have a couple of students who actually should be joining us next week, matter of fact. So we all get a preview.
That's good to hear.
Of them. Yep. So we know we got to keep student voice in there. So any thoughts on meeting dates? One thing that the council members did say, if we can set those dates now, of course, everybody knows they're there and they can try to work around them. So we did have to move a few dates because we were scheduling throughout the year. Do we want to say that we want to meet on, the first or second Thursday of the month, or do we want to say anything like that going forward?
Right now, what day does it fall on? Does it fall on like a second Thursday or anything?
So if you look at this year, Ms. Scott, we started off, I want to say our November and January, we were on the second Thursday, but we weren't able to maintain that,
Okay.
for the other one. So I think we started off wanting to be the second Thursday. That was our initial intention.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have any preference.
Okay.
Whatever their preference is, really, what's like you're saying, so they can be autonomous and what you gathered and everything. I want to make sure that we honor that.
Okay. I know one thing, and I told the council, we need to make sure we have a quorum of our committee members, and that's why what we typically do is, the committee, you all set the date, and then we've been able to get the majority of that council to start. So I think it will probably be easier if we get you all to set the date. I mean, I can follow via email too. And also I can suggest some dates in email. We can try to nail something down soon. Does that sound okay going forward? Well, let me say this too. Also, I guess when we look at those dates, what if we started in, well, let me say this. Let me go back to the Equity Committee for a minute. Would anyone be opposed to just dropping that August date? Now, I do remember last year we had the August and we canceled, but I'm thinking if we take that out, that would eliminate the potential PRC conflict, and then we would just get started really and after school opens. So I see some advantages in going to September. Is anyone opposed to us just striking the August date altogether and starting with the September date of the 22nd for the Equity Committee?
I'll ask other members, how do you all feel about striking the August date? Oh, Ms. Jost, yes.
And that is just for the equity committee meeting with the council, correct?
No, so this one, Ms. Jost, would be for that top section, so that August 18th, August 18th, I would
Gotcha.
proposing that we drop that date and just pick it up in the September 22nd meeting.
I can attend, so I would, I'm okay with that because we will have board meetings, so I'm fine with keeping that meeting.
Okay.
I'm fine with keeping it as well. Any other suggestions, comments? Okay.
All right. All right, why don't we go down to the,
Dr. Hager had a question in the
I'm sorry.
chat. I don't believe we meet in July. Do we meet in July, Mr. Handy?
No, we don't.
Okay, yeah, so she said same, keep the August.
Okay, I think we've heard from everyone on that. Okay. All right, let's go back to the committee meeting with the council. So that section at the bottom. Any thoughts on, do we want to, try to establish, let's say, the first or second Thursday? We've been doing Thursdays. So everything has been on a Thursday, which keeps it in line with our standard committee meetings. I'm also mindful of, you got your full board meetings and you all are serving other committees and then you have other obligations. So do we want to give some suggestions now? Do you want me to follow up via email? Let me know how you want me to proceed for those dates.
You're talking about for the dates for the equity committee meeting for the council?
For the council, so the ones at the bottom. So we have the month, but we still need to fill in the days.
Okay. I would say any dates that don't conflict with a board meeting or another committee meeting, if that's possible.
Okay.
This is Erin Hager. I agree, especially if you could do it on different weeks than board meetings. 2 evening meetings in a single week can be challenging.
All right. Just taking some notes here. All right. Any other thoughts, input on that? Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I'll send an email to committee members with suggested dates for meeting with the council, and then we'll come to consensus via email then, if that works for everyone.
Okay, that works then. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Ms. Scott, I think that's all I had for for the planning. So thank you, and thank you, council members, committee members. Pardon. So I'll turn it back to you, Ms. Scott. I think we just have.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
I was just talking. So, yes, thank you for that. So it looks like we've come to the end of our agenda, and the last item on the agenda is announcements. And our next equity committee meeting will be held on Thursday, June 16th at 4 p.m. So if there's no other business, we are now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.